All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. I am joined by my co-host here, of course, co-host Kitty. We'll make sure that everything is working properly. We do have a lot of tabs over here. We've got 6, I think, just on the Trump Mar-A-Lago sort of FBI raid story. So that's the big news of the day. We also have to cover the Wisconsin primary, the gubernatorial slot for the Republicans. Ilhan Omar barely winning her primary. That's a big one. And also the end of the Washington 3 open primary. Actually, Beutler has conceded to Joe Kent. Those are interesting. And then, of course, the dark winter coming for the British. And probably for much of the rest of the world, thanks to economic mismanagement. We will refresh this really quickly. I see that the chat system is working over on Rumble. Let's make sure that the video is actually coming through. Yep, we're live on Rumble. Okay, just a sec here. Let me make sure that everything is kosher here. Shit ton of people already commenting. Yeah, I think we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we have 6 different tabs open just for the Trump Mar-A-Lago raid stuff. So that will be more than half of the show today. Senor Why Me on Rumble. Careful, truth will win on YouTube chat is Fed posting. Yes, if anyone tells you to engage in any form of violence as a repercussion for the unlawful raid on the Mar-a-Lago, do not listen to them, just to be clear. It may be a Fed, it may be someone who's deeply black-pilled. You know, Richard Spencer fan, I suppose, at this point. Not a banned account. Trump needs to be magnanimous. Let them arrest him. I don't think that they will, actually. I still do not believe that there will be any forthcoming charges. The J6 committee didn't find anything, so why would I think that their raid on his Mar-a-Lago would find anything? I think they've overstretched for the last time, so to speak. I think that they are going to have a significant political blowback, as we will get into with some of the subtopics here. Of course, the main topic is the Mar-a-Lago raid and things related to it. But we've got a bunch of different things to cover here. The first story by TIPP Insights. FBI raid on Trump will make him a martyr. I happen to concur with this general notion. The ongoing persecution of Trump is likely to spectacularly backfire on the left. It is unlikely that the raid will cow the man who has weathered many scandals and accusations. Again, agreed. Here's the thing. Donald Trump has been investigated by Senate Intel, by the J6 House Committee, and by many others. The IRS is part of that too. For years and years and years. They're also, by the way, it is coincidental that on the same day that the raid occurs, all of a sudden the judge decides, oh, yeah, all of his IRS, all of his tax returns can be made available to the committee. That's perfectly coincidental as well. And there's an ongoing case with Letitia James, I believe it was, on that. He's already weathered all of these things. You've claimed basically everything under the sun about Trump. He's never been jailed. He's never been charged with a crime. There's never been any compelling evidence to cause even like a grand jury to be convened or anything like that. What more do you want to have to admit that this dude is squeaky clean? In my opinion, Donald Trump understood that these sorts of things would happen, low key, and planned for them, number one, but also kept his nose clean, so to speak, number two. And I think that he is squeaky clean. When you have limitless capabilities of investigating a person, and you take those capabilities to investigate, and after years and years, the best thing that you can find is that Paul Manafort broke the law back in the middle of the 2000s, a full decade before the campaign began. Wouldn't you think that at some point you can leave the fucker alone? Lifecock, maybe the FBI can go to Zelensky's mansion in Florida next. No, they won't check that one. Shaker Silver. I can believe Biden didn't know and the Dem politicians didn't want this because they don't control the deep state. The deep state controls them. They're all part of the same deep state. That's the problem. Oh, D. Mackey, inflation numbers are coming out today. My prediction, 9 to 9.4%. Let me look that up. Thank you for telling me that. We're getting new inflation numbers today. Again, talk about a distraction. Yeah, I would expect it to be around that range. We'll be conservative. U.S. inflation expected to have eased slightly in July. Oh, that would be nice. It's only 9% instead of 9.1. Bidenomics is working, they will say. That will, by the way, be their cope. I did not know. Got kind of distracted with all the Mar-A-Lago shit. Shaker Silver, I can believe. Oh, I already read that one. Sorry. I almost gave you a twofer. But yeah, I do agree with the general belief. I don't think that this raid actually destroys Trump. What I think is that it emboldens MAGA. I think that his core fan base, which is rather large within the GOP, effectively subsumes the party at this point. And they're kicking ass. Again, we'll be talking about Michels. We'll be talking about the dropping out of Beutler and Joe Kent being nominated. The writing is on the wall. It's like 8 of the impeachers are gone or will be gone. A couple of them managed to hold on to their positions, and I think that one of them is not long for the world. And of course, Liz Cheney, she'll be knocked off in, I believe, 6 days is when the Wyoming primary occurs. Itkens Reza. Thoughts on starting a business, or is the impending not a recession going to dampen small businesses? Honk or clank as you prefer. I wouldn't be investing in a small business right now. I'd be taking my money and stuffing it in the mattress for what it's worth. Better off buying silver or something like that, or crypto. I wouldn't be interested in wasting a bunch of money starting a business that might get locked down this fall or in 2024 because of Hong Kong. So, yeah. Jimbo Slice one up. Can we agree DeSantis will be GOP candidate when Orange Man is jailed? I highly doubt that they're going to jail Donald Trump. Even if they do, it doesn't prevent him from running, as we will see further. MSNBC admitting the silent part out loud, which is really funny. Second one. And this, I'm just going to link to my own post because you can look this up for yourself. Now, I'm now calling Biden Banana Republic Biden because that is what he's lording over. He's destroyed multiple U.S. industries, wrecked the economy. He's effectively geriatric generalissimo. And now we've got the persecution of political dissidents part of it. We've become, Venezuela plus a bigger economy at this point, which is rather sad. Here's the claim, and I made a video about this earlier. The claim is that neither Biden nor anyone in the White House staff was briefed on the FBI raid that was impending before it happened. Can I please ask people something? Does it make sense that if you're going to break over 200 years of precedent and you're going to have an agency raid the private residence of a former president over something that's not a violent crime? They're not charging espionage or treason or anything. They're talking about data retention effectively. They're talking about laws related to filing paperwork, and that's literally what we're talking about. Hillary Clinton was implicated in this. They never raided her house. They subpoenaed material, and they sent a couple of friendly agents over there to oversee it, and then took materials away. Why would Biden not know that this was going on? And of course, if you assume, as I do, that he's just a puppet and doesn't really know what's going on, he'd forget it within 10 minutes. Supposedly, nobody else in the White House was told either. So Kamala wasn't told, the default second in command. The Secretary of State didn't know. Merrick Garland, supposedly, I guess, didn't know. This was all a local and regional thing with a judge who happened to be an Obama donor who quit his job temporarily to represent Jeffrey Epstein, of all people, in order to file a sealed warrant. It was all handled at the lower level. Maybe the head of the FBI himself didn't know what the hell was going on. That would point to a much larger problem. I would rather that Biden actually knew what happened and it was just a political hit job, because at least then the system, corrupt as it is actually functioning. The alternative is that the system, corrupt as it is not even functioning as intended. That's actually worse. D. Sadler, how do people not see the obvious corruption? How do they convince so many people Orange Man bad? Are they choosing denial or are they mentally off? Both. Why not have both? Yay. Apache Senpai, is Trump the cleanest politician ever? No, that guy goes to Jimmy Carter, I think. Now, nobody ever gave him points for his personality, but he seems to have been above any scandals. Donald Trump has certainly, I'm sure, engaged in weird business dealings. He's been a mogul since the 1970s. That being said, they haven't found anything actionable. Over the last 20 years, he hasn't done anything wrong, so that's good enough for me. The Grizzly, Democrats should vote for MAGA candidates in the general to show how extreme and unpopular the maggots are, like they did in the primaries. Lol. Yeah, it's funny to see the DCCC actually taking investment that's been given to them by wealthy donors in the Democratic Party and literally giving it to Republican candidates. Again, there's nothing odd about this current political climate. It's totally normal. Doc Holliday. Odds Banana Republic Biden's goon squad planted evidence on Trump. Reasonable, although not exactly 50-50. I think that right now they're shaking in their boots, which is why the Biden and his lackeys are claiming they had no foreknowledge of this raid, which is horseshit. Yeah, we're breaking 200 years of precedence. We didn't even bother to let them know in case there were riots. Of course we didn't. That makes total sense. Cold Warrior, not investment advice. My prediction is inflation drops by 0.2. The stock markets go crazy and we get taken to the woodshed again. Symbolic belief. Why are staffing issues so bad in workplaces? Because a lot of people aren't bothering to seek work in the Biden economy. If you think you're going to make $12 an hour and that won't even pay for the gas that you need to get to work, then why would you bother? Volkfang, shouldn't the White House be freaking out that a rogue FBI is crossing the Rubicon without even informing them? Yeah, good point. I would love to see that question asked. I would also like to see Biden ask this, and I talked about this earlier. Assuming that it's true that Biden and his inner circle were not made, it was not made clear to them that this raid was going to occur. Would they have nixed the raid and said, don't do that, and propose that instead you simply subpoena the paperwork and go in a more informal manner, as happened with people like Hillary Clinton? Would you have insisted that is not politically expedient? It's not a great idea to do so. Again, I go back to my proposition from yesterday and from the last few years. Either I have to believe that Donald Trump really is completely demented, utterly insane, and totally corrupt, or I can believe that the people that I know fall into those categories remain that way and that Donald Trump actually is trying to help. I choose the latter. I do not believe that Donald Trump is corrupt, not in that manner anyway. He's egotistical, he's self-serving, he's a business mogul, and it works. The thing is, that works for the United States. It works for any nation. Drive-by commenter. If the recent act passed expects to fulfill over a period of 10 years, is it possible a change in the House may hamper some of the IRS expansion? Yes, simply defund it. The House has the purse strings. Crazy Loon, what government departments and agencies do you think should be kept? My view is state, defense, treasury, and federal marshals. Yeah, it's fine to keep departments. It's even fine if you keep the FBI, but you need to rein it in massively and you need to massively shrink it. I would just say do away with them. Same with the IRS. We don't need that. The DEA is pointless. The DOE is pointless. The EPA is certainly pointless. Even the green energy nerds of the far left used to complain about it being pointless under the Bush administration because it's so easily made partisan. ATF can go. The CIA, I'll keep them around just because it's funny to watch them snort coke and overthrow various regimes. We'll keep this. I'll tell them this. Keep the CIA or the FBI. One or the other. You can only have one. Ian Angel, good morning, Sticks. I'm in Florida. I've been seeing ads for DeSantis for governor, short and sweet. Talking points based on the Coof response. He's a good governor. Yeah, he seems to be doing a good job as governor. I hope he keeps doing it for multiple more years. Gob Gonson, unlike other politicians, Trump has consistently worn his worst qualities on his sleeve so that any scandals about him are unsurprising and boring. We are now seeing how wise that strategy is. Just a second here. Cam2425IA, Sticks, new CPI numbers at 8:30 Eastern. Okay, so we will not be live when those come in. Depending on what the numbers are, I may do an extra video later. I'm sorry, but it's dry and hot and windy, and the trees are fucking each other again. The Grizzly, how close are we to Tim Pool's black-pilled future? My national divorce, my 2000 Civil War. I like the guy, just wish he was less doomer. I don't think we're close to a civil war, but I think we're close to civil unrest. And these people would be well warned to avoid that. Don't overstep so much. You've got to have a little bit of self-control. I think they're desperate. Third news story, FBI's Mar-A-Lago raid presents a time for choosing the regime or America by Ben Weingarten, and I happen to agree with this basic premise. We now have two futures that we can have. We can go along with Biden's bullshit, the banana republic lie that we're being sold, and we can go back to neoliberalism, globalism. We can go back to the bad old days, which didn't work. That's why Trump was elected. Or we can deal with the fact that Trump is not perfect, that his platform is not perfect. MAGA is not perfect. There are elements of it that virtually anyone would disagree with in different totals, but it's better than the alternative. It would be better to go back to the antebellum period minus the slave debate than to stay, in my opinion, in globalist neoliberalism. People are fundamentally capable of organizing things themselves. The concept of big government needing to organize things is a farce, and here's why. If you do not believe that people fundamentally organize on their own self-interest, there's no reason to have a government because that government will be corrupt and inefficient, and we do see that that's the case. If people are capable of it, they don't need big government. It's not necessary because they'll do it themselves, and they don't need to tax people to do so. Then it's just a matter of who's most efficient. The hope is that groups of people will learn from one another. It can raise thoughts on Larry Elder. He seemed very genuine on Timcast the other day. Possible VP candidate? Possible. I would prefer Rand Paul or Kristi Noem in that particular order. Shaker Silver. You said Trump was purely obstructed in office, but he didn't do anything about free speech or his supporters being banned until he himself was. He had actually spoken about it and had actually acted to some degree. I just wish he had gone further. That is true, though. Trump did not do enough on that. Westfield 90, if GOP wins the House but loses the Senate, isn't it a wash and nothing happens over the next 2 years? Yeah, exactly. Nothing happens. Biden can't do anything. I think that would be a good outcome. It's perfectly fine. Although we have to see what the FBI raid bullshit has affected the polling, because now the Dems may lose the Senate. If the backlash is large enough, they've really fucked themselves in the ass. 86ED, there was a gun buyback in Houston and a 3D gun bro turned in a bunch of single-shot pistols as a meme. Cost $378 for 63 guns. Gross, $3,150. Just thought it was pretty funny. Yeah, I talked about that several days ago. I would remind him that the IRS is being expanded by Banana Republic Biden, so make sure to declare that on your tax forms. Symbolic belief, what's your favorite cereal? I do not eat cereal. Avoid too many carbs. Symbolic belief, describe the actions of your perfect president. My perfect president would be me, and my actions would be massive constitutional overhaul, massively expanding it, of course, hatcheting the bureaucracy to pieces, etc. It would not be mild reform like Trump has in mind. It would be draconian. It'd be the equivalent of double chemotherapy. That being said, that won't happen, number one, and I'm perfectly fine with someone who's more of a mild reformer, number two. Pim Tool, I call this the diaper deposit. Take it, Sticks. Absolutely. By the way, I am making meatloaf tonight. Speaking of food and so forth. I'm always speaking of food. I can't help it. I get hungry. Doc Holiday, enjoy following you on Twitter, although I'm currently on a 1-week timeout for referring to a small-town Mayor Pete as the D.C. hot dog eating champion. I prefer to simply point out that he's good at running trains. As transport secretary, that's a big good thing for his job description. Ken Bro, seems if they can print fake ballots, they can print fake confidential documents. Yeah, it's possible. The problem is that Trump is a former president. What can the former president do? Declassify things. Whoops. Eppen, do you think we'll be audited by all these new IRS agents? I am not going to bother taking any write-offs in this tax year. I would rather pay a couple $1,000 extra than deal with the goddamn hassle. So I'm not even going to bother. I'm willing to pay a couple $1,000 in order for there to be a 0% chance of an audit, because there is no write-off there. It's literally just, here's how much I made, and then they tell me how much I owe. I've already been restricting those for years. I'm paranoid, so makes sense. Next news story, Rasmussen reports on Twitter. Breaking, judge reportedly behind Mar-A-Lago raid warrant is former Jeffrey Epstein lawyer and Obama donor. By the way, also has Clinton ties. We learned that after this piece broke. Yes, there's no conflict of interest here. There's nothing shady going on. It's totally normal for this sort of thing to happen. Happens all the time. But I'm being farcical, of course. That's not actually the case. This is such a gross miscarriage of justice here that they decided the J6 committee here. I'm going to try to explain this. I've explained it the other day, but please bear with me. The J6 committee has been hazarded. They have not found anything legally actionable. Several of their own members have come out and acknowledged the fact that they're not going to refer charges to the DOJ because they don't have any charges to refer. They found possible shenanigans. I don't believe that they're real, but in their mind, possible shenanigans. They've got plenty of people who were miserable serving under Trump, plenty of people who don't like Trump, who told various stories about weird shit that he supposedly said. They have all sorts of concerns, but they don't have anything that is legally actionable. The problem is that one of the concerns of the J6 committee was this particular paperwork. So the idea that Trump took classified material from the National Archives, etc., and squirreled it away to the Mar-a-Lago. And while I don't think that that tale is even necessarily true, and while he can always just say, well, I declassified this. I'm allowed to see it because I was the president at the time, and it was declassified, so I took it home, and, there is no crime. Here's the problem. It looks like the J6 committee went behind the back of itself, quite literally, in order to get the National Archives to complain and get an FBI case going in a lower court. This isn't coming from, the top rung, the top brass, which is probably not coincidental. It's coming from a lower judge. It's coming from supposedly lower level FBI agents. Like, I guess even Garland is feigning ignorance right now, if I remember correctly, which is absolutely fucking completely retarded. You're not going to be able to get away with that. Here's my belief. I do not think that they will find anything actionable at the Mar-a-Lago. I think this is a desperate Hail Mary. I think this is a last gasp, sort of a last-ditch effort. The J6 committee has died off. Again, they found nothing. Despite wasting tens of millions in taxpayer dollars and literally millions of total man hours between all the staff, lawyers, etc., involved with them, they found nothing. They've dragged Bannon. They tried to drag Roger Stone. They've been persecuting people up and down now for the better part of a year and a half. But if they don't have anything, they need to save face. So they decided to initiate the raid. That's my belief. They're hoping that something came out of the safe, and apparently nothing did. So that's pretty damning. John Smith, that would be me. Lol. God, I just can't get a fucking break today. I didn't know anything was pollinating at this time of year. Joe Biden's dentures. What would be the fallout of a Trump arrest? Millions of protesters, I believe. It would get kind of dicey. And then they would say, look how evil and violent and despicable the far right is. It'd be funny if they were burning Wendy's to the ground. Supposedly that's perfectly fine. And dress up as BLM members. Nobody will try to stop them. Yolt Nick, hello, Nick, my friend. I find it interesting that state media is stating there's photos of Trump flushing docks in Florida. Riddle me this. How can Trump be in two places at once? He wasn't at his home when the FBI raided. Yes, To be clear, I do not believe that Trump is infantile enough to think that ripping apart a piece of paper and putting it down the toilet's a good idea. I do not believe that story. However, I would point out that they are referring to past events. They're claiming that happened some time ago on a routine basis. So in other words, Donald Trump is as crazy as Hillary Clinton, commanding her staffers to take her server and smash it apart with hammers, thinking that destroys all the data. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. It sounds more like a troll to me. It sounds almost like he was just lampooning Hillary Clinton by putting that story out there, and then the FBI goes in, finds it never happened, and says, whoops, oh shit, we really fucked up here. Josie, with big government Republicans like Mitch McConnell capable of only wetting themselves at the prospect of cutting back government or spending, what hope do we have to any of these agencies being dissolved if Trump wins in 24? Well, between the overwhelming slew of MAGA candidates in the midterms and the likely overwhelming slew that will be there in 24, I'd say pretty good, actually. We actually have a chance of restoring our republic now. Ian Angel, what's the current BLUs? How did your polling go? Biden lose units. We're at 4,000 on YouTube and Twitch, and over 650 on Rumble. So that'd be 10. That'd be about 15 Biden loser units, I believe. That's pretty good. And the polling went well. Jack Perry, Sticks, MAGA 17-0 in the Senate, wins Wisconsin and Connecticut. Yes, MAGA is on top. We will be talking about that. Dolger Hanske, greetings from Denmark. German or Japanese knives? German, if I had to choose between the two. Lee, do you think they used this opportunity to bug the Mar-A-Lago? Oh, of course they did. Of course there's recording devices in the Mar-A-Lago right now. You'd have to be completely insane to think they didn't drop a couple of wiretaps in there, because the entire thing was okayed by the Biden administration. They can claim ignorance. It doesn't have to be Joe Biden that okayed it, but he may genuinely not know because he can't remember his name half the time. Somebody at a much higher level than even Merrick Garland, probably the Secretary of State, did okay it. No yenes, clanker is our word, but non-subs can stay clanka. Long John, what do you think of the political fallout will be if the FBI JFK's Trump? Millions more protesters. Ozzy's Robots. Hello, Ozzy. Big thanks. Added 50 clankers to my channel. Keep them coming. Regarding the Mar-a-Lago raid, Merrick Garland's unconscionable vindictive action proves the USA really dodged a bullet avoiding this petty man as a SCOTUS judge. Yeah, I would say there is definitely a silver lining, which is that we know that Trump made absolutely the right decision, and the GOP too, prior on Merrick Garland being in SCOTUS. By the way, the liberals actually not long ago effectively echoing the same sentiment when he simply said, well, I can't charge Trump right now. You need more evidence. Oh boy, they dogpiled him. Westfield 90. I feel more crazy antics incoming as pressure increases from the January 6th committee. Liz Cheney and Garland to do something before election time. They can try. Alex Newton, see you in Truth Social? Yeah, once I can actually log in from outside of the U.S. and Canada. Hoy Thew 09, breaking news. Fox News announces that Donald Trump wins the 2024 presidential election. P.S. You should take little sticks to Burger Zoo in Arnhem. Oh, yeah, I mean, he's way ahead in polls on that anyway. He'll win it if he runs. There's a 99% chance at this point. Probably 100%, but we'll always admit to the possibility of mortality. We got more Super Chats and Rumble. Joker 1. In Iran, the mullahs chose... God, I fucking hate Rumble's chat system. The candidates and give the public the illusion of free choice in elections. I didn't know about the USA until Trump. This is not the country I was born in. And a follow-up, the deep state cannot allow Trump to run again. If the felony-grade evidence the FBI brought to plant his home doesn't work, I hate to guess what the next or final step will be. Amaru says, I will break from tradition and donate to your baby formula fund. I'm sure you have more than enough diapers. I have 2 girls. Costs go way down after the first year, then pick up again later. Cheers, Sticks. Thank you. And Metal Raider 2181. Oh no, they're going to find that judge in a hotel room drowned in his own bottle of pure soy. Everyone please dogpile the people at Rumble. you should contact them and tell them that their first priority must be that on chat, when you are on live stream, if I am above the bottom of the page, I do not want it to automatically go all the way down every time there's a new chat. It should not be a difficult fix. Literally every other site can do it. I'm sure that Rumble, with its considerable investment and considerable audience, Jesus Christ, we got over 720 people watching right now. I'm sure that you can figure it out. Please make it easier on me. Mike Roch, how do you think the Great Migration will impact the election? I moved to Wisconsin and other transplants in my town lean right. Yeah, there's a huge migration from the blue states right now. The blue states will lose power and other states will get more red, so it'll have some impact. No Yenes, how is the raid going to affect polling? Oh, we have to wait and see. I have no clue. It could go in either direction. My hope, based on the preliminary response, is that it affects it in a positive pro-MAGA direction. Scarfy the Strange, I suspect that Dems will attempt reparations by increasing taxes while discriminating based on race and send 1% of the tax money to black voters. Yeah, they will try to buy voters. They have been for years. Here's the next story. This is very odd for MSNBC, by the way. Why Trump won't get barred from office, even if he gets indicted, which, I doubt he will. A law blocking the perpetrators of certain crimes from federal office may be in conflict with the Constitution. Yes, indeed, the Constitution does not require that a person not be indicted for certain things, and federal statutes are utterly meaningless if they contravene the Constitution. But MSNBC's article here, I mean, it's by Jessica Levinson, so the entire first paragraph is basically Trump bad. Orange, former President Donald Trump should never be president again. Frankly, he should never hold any position of public trust again. He attempted a coup. He lied over and over again. He used his office for personal financial gain. He was impeached twice, which is meaningless. There is evidence that he attempted to obstruct a congressional proceeding, namely the counting of electoral votes, that he tried to defraud the government by interfering with the certification of electoral votes. And there's no reason to believe that in violation of federal law, he took classified documents away from the White House. Well, yeah, if you don't have any evidence that that happened, there's definitely reason to disbelieve it, but we'll get beyond that for now. Trump derangement syndrome aside, the article's fundamental central statement is true. There is nothing preventing Donald Trump from running for office while under investigation for this crime that supposedly happened. And again, I doubt that they'll indict him. Even if indicted, even if he is charged, and even if he is thrown in a goddamn jail cell, there is no constitutional prohibition of him standing for office. It does not exist. If that happens, let's say, again, this is a fever dream mode. I don't think it'll happen. Let's say Trump gets jailed, but he runs anyway, and he becomes the Republican nominee from a jail cell. What you'll see is a bunch of states try to prevent him from being on the ballot. They'll change their state laws, and that may be constitutional, although, again, not necessarily. Leading to a lengthy court battle that would extend pretty much through the election. On the federal level, there's nothing they can goddamn do to prevent him. And that's why they're doing this. They're not hoping to prevent him from running. What they're hoping to do is to prevent him from being palatable enough to win. That's really all this is about. They want to rip apart the MAGA crowd because they're afraid of them. That's the only thing. They're afraid of Donald Trump running and winning. They're afraid that someone akin to Donald Trump could run and win. And they're trying to destroy the populist movement to go back to neoconservatism. They don't mind the Bushes and the John McCains and the Cheneys of the Republican Party. These people are basically Democrats anyway. These people all party together and they go to the orgies together on Epstein Island. They fuck kids together and do stuff like that. They do coke together. Mitch McConnell's yacht was being used to funnel coke for a reason. It was not bound for random people in the lower or middle class. It was bound for politicians. That's who was going to snort it. And that's why you never got any significant investigation into the ramifications of that case. These people are all in it together. Westfield 90. 2 years is a long time away. Things change very quickly. I wish conservative voters just focused on winning in November than taking sides for 24. Well, I mean, you're either on the side of basic liberty and actually giving a shit about the Republic at this point, or you're on the side of the Bidenistas. I hate to say it, but for once, the two ideology dichotomy, at least, is fundamentally real. Neocons and neolibs on one side, and MAGA basically on the other. With the leftoids in a strange, weird love triangle trifecta, doing everything that they can to destroy the right wing while making life hard for the left wing. Really interesting. Cat MD. You and PewDiePie red-pilled me. I was a new Pewdie fan when he got in trouble, and YouTube still had you high up in the search results. You explained it. I got angry, then red-pilled. Thanks, Sticks. Yeah, many such cases from years ago, back when YouTube didn't hate my guts. Mary Chase. Hi, Sticks. Is the Netherlands' daily life back to normal? Here it is. I don't think that it's back to normal, though, in places like Rotterdam, Utrecht, Amsterdam. There are still protests ongoing. Here, it's not really so much a thing. Hoystein. I feel it should be pointed out that they have tried every tactic on Trump that they tried on Caesar. The only difference is it's harder to do now. There are some overlaps. Luka Pilipovic. Not blackpilling here, but I'd say Trump was favored in 2020 and the honking changed that. It was so obvious, yet nothing was done. It doesn't look like you have a functioning republic anymore. Things were done. Several states have already defortified. You see the state governments getting more ballsy. The other day, literally, fucking Ron DeSantis passing an emergency executive order to prevent state agencies from cooperating with the feds. The Republicans actually have testicles nowadays. They haven't for a very long time. Scarfy the Strange. It'd be really funny if every black conservative donates their reparations check to the Trump campaign. Stranger things could happen. Gnarly Ranger, will the momentum continue for the right regarding education? I left teaching networked engineering due to BS COVID policies in CRT. The issue was a big win for Youngkin. P.S. Diaper Fund contribution. Thank you very much for that. And I would say, I would think that the right wing wins on education in the end. Blue Bad, any tips on growing a fall garden? I'm trying it for the first time this year. I'm planning on growing cabbage, kale, broccoli, and a lot of carrots. As long as they're cool weather crops, you just stick them in and do what you do. Make sure to use azomite. Doofily moofily, you can fix the comment problem on Rumble, but you need a FISA warrant. I know a judge that can get you one on the cheap. Just don't flush anything. Zedekai, learning to scuba. Well, have fun with that. Eat some sushi. Havercamp Truth, still waiting for you to see that Trump is one of them. No, I do not believe that Trump is part of the deep state. Just to be clear. We Are Ham. Where do you stand on public investment when it comes to infrastructure? I'm a libertarian, but I also like the trains they have in Europe. Well, if they're so great, then people will set them up on their own voluntarily. Inner city area? Yeah, perfectly fine. New York City? Yeah, they'll have trains and shit. It wouldn't make much sense in many contexts. The U.S. is not as densely populated as most of Europe. Chris Young. Hey, Sticks. Longtime clanker. Gen X metalhead D&D nerd. Getting X off its butt. Check me out on Street Beefs. Forever Young. All right, now we've got the next news story. Another subtopic. Trump releases Nation in Decline campaign video in response to FBI raid. America has become a joke. They've got the entire transcript here, so links in the description. You should go and see this for yourself. You can read through it or watch the video, depending on which you prefer. Effectively, this is the beginning of Trump 2024. This is a campaign ad. There's no way that I can look at this and construe it as anything but a campaign ad. I can't construe it. I mean, he's not stumping for anyone else. He's not putting forth a broad ideology. He's talking about how the nation has been fucked up by Bidenomics and stuff, and the time has come to restore things. There's no other way that I can possibly look at this and say that it's not a campaign ad. So I think Trump will run in 24. I think that he will be the nominee. My hope is that he wins the general election. If he's going against Biden, I don't think that'll be a problem at this point. John P., any opinions on Tennessee politicians? I don't have any problem with Tennessee politicians because I don't know any. I prefer Rand Paul of Kentucky, I suppose. Jesus. Yeah, I think Donald Trump will run. I think there's about a 95 to 99% chance that he runs, a 90+% chance that he becomes nominee if he does. And that's really it because, I mean, who is he going to be running against? Is it Joe Biden? Joe Biden could croak live on stage. The dude will be fucking 81 years old. He's completely lost it. He can't even finish a sentence half the time. If it's Kamala somehow fares worse. Pete Buttigieg doesn't have the support of the left, and the main line of the party doesn't have a problem with him, but all the young door knockers, that 10 plus million Americans that really give the Democrats traditionally a bigger advantage in turnout, they wouldn't be there for him. Who's going to run? Gavin Newsom? Yeah, especially if Trump takes on DeSantis as running mate, that would be a crushing defeat for the Democrats. No, Yanez, you grow any oyster or edible mushroom sticks? I have never actually tried to grow mushrooms. I would like to. They're tasty. Scrooge McClank, taking my early morning swim in my pool of clanks. So yes, I predict that Trump will run. The prediction is now effectively official. Again, there's no other way that I can look at this and say anything other than this is a campaign ad. We're a nation that no longer has a free and fair press. Fake news is about all you get. We are a nation where free speech is no longer allowed. Crime is rampant like never before. The economy has been collapsing and more people died of COVID in 2021 than in 2020. We are a nation that is allowing Iran to build a massive nuclear weapon and China to use trillions and trillions of dollars it has taken from the U.S. to build a military to rival our own. And he goes on and on and on. And most of his points are interesting. I don't know how much I give a shit about what Iran is doing and stuff like that. But it sounds like a fairly standard hybrid Trump-style pitching the campaign ad. Part of it is pure MAGA. That's the part I mostly like. And like talking about Iran, okay, that's red meat to the neocon and evangelical base more than anything else. He puts it in good order, too. I mean, inflation comes first. That is a big thing. Then oil, which is tied to economics, and then other things. We are a nation that has weaponized law enforcement against the opposing political party like never before. I've never seen anything like this before. Yeah, good timing on this ad, by the way. Considering that it had to have been made before the FBI raid, I think that might be evidence that he knew that something like that was coming. I'm not so sure that people are being conspiracy theorists when they're positing that. And that makes me very, very excited. Cheap Whiskey, Dick and Liz did the raid. Look at the TV ad they made. Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney. I don't think they did the raid. I mean, they wouldn't have the capability to sign a warrant. That was the judge, but I'm sure that they were aware of it. Battle Elf, Trump is Stick's MAGA Messiah. Trump wouldn't be there if he wasn't one of them. Adam THM, Sticks, do you think the Dems are starting to be delusional over inflated July numbers and wins? I'm still playing double in gas even with the dip. Paying double in gas, sorry. Gas is nowhere near its lull. It's still more than $1 higher than it was when Biden took office. He considers this a win. Oh, it's down from its heights. Yeah, it's still way, way higher than it should be, if we weren't attacking our own energy industry, but that's okay. Now we'll pivot off of the Trump Mar-A-Lago raid stuff for a little while anyway. Probably end up addressing it anyway. We've got about 6,000 people watching live, by the way, cross-platform. Incumbent Herrera Beutler concedes to Kent in District 3 race. Yes, yet another impeacher has been knocked off. This is number 8. Number 7. Herrera Beutler is no more within politics. She is now officially a lame duck, having lost to the Trump-backed candidate. I believe Beutler was notably endorsed by Mike Pence, much like with Robson, the person who tried to beat Carrie Lake and also resoundingly lost. Yes, Beutler originally was leading by a fairly significant margin, but as more votes came in from same day, Kent moved more and more ahead. He took a narrow lead the other day, but it was still too close to call, and now they're saying, well, he's leading by enough. There aren't enough votes for him to lose at this point. So he has officially gotten rid of another impeacher. I find this to be wonderful. Kent is definitely a MAGA darling, and I think my money is certainly a megaphone, but so is the truth, Glausen Camp Perez says. People don't want to be represented by an extremist anymore. Extremists can't get things done. Yeah, Perez feels that Kent does not adequately represent Southwest Washington in Congress, I guess. John Horvick with DHM Research, a local nonpartisan. Whenever you hear that, you know it's partisan, by the way. Politics and Policy think tank says Democrats in the 3rd Congressional District will have an uphill battle in November once the results from the open primary are finalized. True. I believe that Kent will likely win. He has his own issues, but, you know, if you're knocking off an impeacher, I don't see the problem with it. Sebastian Monroe. Michels won the primary last night. 3 more months. Yes, we will talk about that next, actually. The Grizzly. When do you think that Trump is likely to officially announce his 24 run for the POTUS? I'm betting sometime in September, October, or November at the latest. Hopefully he waits until after midterms. My hope is he waits till after midterms till like December. Do it in the Christmas season and make it a Christmas-style video when you announce. That would be hilarious. Make it as meme-worthy as possible so it completely gobbles down every bit of attention. But give the candidates that you've endorsed, you, Donald Trump, if, you know, he ever sees this, here's a little bit of free advice. Give them the ability to parade around for a couple of days, and they will brag about getting your endorsement. Because you know, you're on the sidelines, and they'll brag about that because you endorsed them and it helped them to win. Scarfy the Strange. Youngkin wanted to ban all Delta products, but settled for requiring Delta to require childproof packaging. Companies withdrew their products as a result. They didn't want to pay for the packaging. Neither would anyone else. Sparky Trump Door 24. Fubar 2020. Trump is one of them, yet they keep trying to screw him over. Yeah, nobody else has been audited and investigated by every fucking agency and element of the government for more than a half a decade. At this point, it is safe to say that Donald Trump, in my opinion, is not part of the deep state. His problems arose from elsewhere, not from corruption. Jack Perry. Sticks. True. Test next week is Alaska. Cheney, too. Liz Cheney will lose. That is a guarantee. In 6 days, Liz Cheney becomes a lame duck. I will talk about it, but it might be in passing because I expect her to lose by at least 20 points. That's probably the under. I think 30 is probably more likely. Yeah, Alaska will be a big one. Drezel 47. The background song in the new Trump video is called WWG1WGA, a Q slogan. Yeah, maybe. Liam Sexton, love being overworked by the U.S. military. The ship I'm working on is old and needs to be retired desperately. Oh, that's okay. Just swab the poop deck a little bit with Andy 6 and you'll get it going really well. Take it to Browntown, man. Next story, Trump-backed Tim Michels, projected winner in battleground Wisconsin's GOP gubernatorial primary. The Wisconsin GOP gubernatorial is the marquee matchup as the Badger State, Minnesota, Connecticut, and Vermont hold primaries Tuesday. Yes, Michels won, and it wasn't even hugely close. Here's where Trump really shows his capability of influencing state-level elections. Michels was considerably behind Kleefisch until fairly recently when the endorsement happened. The endorsement comes in at the 11th hour, and now, you know, Michels is winning by, I think, 5 points at the last count. Let me fact check myself live. Lord knows if I say anything that's slightly inaccurate, people jump down my throat. Yeah, winning by about 5 points, 4.9, same thing, by about 35,000 votes total. So it's not particularly close. That was an 11th hour endorsement. It's sort of similar to other cases that we've seen. Trump just comes in at the 11th hour and all of a sudden swings 15, 20 points of support fairly easily. That's an enormous amount of core support, just to be clear. Occult vid on Makalambembe. Also, do you think the dinos alive, maybe Nessie or Ogopogo, all those cryptids, always so interesting to me when I was small? I do not believe that the Loch Ness Monster is real. I do believe there may be something in Lake Champlain and certain other large bodies of water. When we're looking at the Makalambembe, I don't know if that's actually how it's pronounced. It's possible, but it's not particularly likely. Of course, we got satellite imagery now is better on land than it is in oceanic or lake bodies. So if it's a land-dwelling cryptid, unless it's one that's reckoned to be like man-sized or smaller, It might be harder to eventually not discover it if you're taking satellite imagery. You'd think if there's a brachiosaur wandering around in Gabon or Cameroon that eventually you would see it poking above the trees. Despite a million people using Google Maps, you have never actually seen any evidence. Battle Elf. Yep, it's all part of the Kabuki theater. Notice no one is held accountable. You're being lulled while led to the slaughterhouse. I feel just fine myself. Spiros Kamalales. What happens after Trump announces his 24 plans? Is it an official start to the campaign season? Yeah, basically. As soon as someone major decides to announce, everyone else tends to throw their hats in the ring. BB, have you covered Minnesota One special? I want to give up. No, I haven't looked into that one, actually. I looked at those two particular races, both of which came out quite positively, I think. Just a second here. Dolgerhansk, is a Trump-Paul campaign a possibility? Yes, which is very, very good. Let's hope that happens. It would definitely be a winning ticket. Okay, so Michels won. Now, but someone else won, but only just barely. And it happens to be an incumbent who supposedly had all this great in-party support. Ilhan Omar had her primary the other day. Ilhan Omar projected to defeat Don Samuels by narrow margin, with over 97% of precincts reporting challenger Don Samuels trails Representative Ilhan Omar by less than 3,000 votes. To be clear, she won easily by double digits in the last primary. Now, at the moment, she has 50.53% of the vote, 56,000 votes roughly. Don Samuels has about 53,000 and is at a little bit above 48%. In a race where there were no other significant candidates. There were some also-rans, but they had a few hundred votes apiece. So Ilhan Omar has lost a massive proportion of her support. This should give us hope in the United States. The Justice Dem far left side of the Democratic Party really is their weakest link in multiple ways. Needs to go the way of the dinosaur. We've already had the debate over socialism in the United States. We've rejected it, and she needs to just go away. The hope is that in 2024, when she's up for re-election again, she'll be shooed aside. She'll be kicked in the ass, and she'll be kicked to the curb. The hope is that Ilhan Omar, AOC, people like that, they get shooed out like the dross commies that they are. And that's what I'm hoping for. I think that after MAGA crushes it in the 2022 midterms, we're seeing the rise of a new political paradigm. And my hope is that the Democrats have the sense, because it would be nice to have a second party that actually had sane people in it, other than like Joe Kennedy or something. It would be nice to see the Democrats tell the far left, okay, yeah, we promised you things for 30 years and never delivered in order to get your votes, but now you're demanding that we do what you want to do, and we don't want to play with you anymore, so fuck off. Go to the Green Party. Go join the Communist Party where you belong. Will this actually happen? I'm not hopeful. Should it happen? Yes. Is it possible? Yeah, for the first time in decades, it's actually possible the Democrats will get a fucking life. If the Republicans can do it, if the Republicans can throw aside the evangelo-moralism and the neocon warmongering shtick of like George W. and John McCain, if they can get to the point where a significant proportion of the Republican Party no longer goes to the altar to worship John McCain's warped, yellowed bones, then the Democrats can easily do it. You were the less fucked up party there for several decades. What happened to you? You can figure it out. Don't worry. You don't need to worship at the altar of Karl Marx. Believe it or not, yes, there are young people that'll vote for you without going full commie. Yes, they do exist. What sampling methodology are you weirdos using? At almost 6,500 live viewers, by the way. Eric Basil, how about that Alex Jones struggle session? Yeah, I've seen the kangaroo court of Alex Jones. It's not a pretty sight. It's clearly meant to intimidate people. Danger Aaron, pronounced Michels, we forgive you from Wisconsin. Re-electing Ron Johnson, still very important. Democrat Mandela Barnes, now his competitor out of thin air. BW, God, it feels like forever until midterms. Longer it is, the more time the GOP has to screw up, like they potentially have chances of taking the Senate. Yes, and that is the big fucking problem that keeps me up at goddamn night. The Republicans have every advantage, or did. Now they have a couple of disadvantages now, but nothing insurmountable. But they love to lose. They love to fuck up. They do this over and goddamn over. Hey, we can run on literally every issue. We've got the high ground on the economy. We've got the tailwind on CRT, on education, everything related to it. The Democrats are trying to bring Drag Queen Story Hour to the national stage. We've won. Everything has lined up. The stars have aligned. You know what we're going to do? We're going to nuke one of those stars so that it gets knocked out of its place. That's what the Republicans are good at. And this is why I have to wait until closer to the midterms to give a final expectation. I know that the Republicans will win the House. I don't doubt that at all. I don't think that it's possible for them to fuck up well enough to prevent that. On the Senate, I don't fucking know what's going to happen. BW, God, it feels like forever until Oh, that was the one I just read. God damn it. Lee, do you think President Trump can turn things around with Putin and how outwardly hostile China and Xi have become since Biden was installed? His mere presence will solve the problem because they will no longer dare to antagonize the West as much because there will actually be a leader. Sparky, Champ could bitch slap Nessie. Yeah, the Champlain monster for the win. And you've actually got like video footage supposedly of it that is not like from 10,000 miles away. Sebastian Monroe, I got my paneer cooling in the fridge. Excellent stuff. If you crumble it up and add some salt and shit, it basically becomes cottage cheese, by the way. They're effectively the same. White House economic advisor won't say if 87,000 new IRS agents will audit those making under $400,000. Oh, boy. That sounds like a walk back. What were we told not days ago by Joe Manchin and by Chuck Schumer and by Biden repeatedly over the last few months? He had been pushing this for the better part of a year anyway. What were we told? Don't worry, everyone. We're expanding the IRS massively. But they're only going to be focused on the millionaires and billionaires. You don't have anything to worry about from literally the least liked agency in the federal government's purview. They're not coming after you if you make $300K a year, only $400K. And I likened it to another claim, which is also false, which is that Joe Biden said that under his tax proposals, nobody making under $400,000 a year would pay more taxes. It's literally the same number for a reason. That's not an arbitrary cutoff. He's just linking them in his head because he can't separate numbers very easily because he's demented. It turns out that was a lie. The White House had to walk it back and say, well, yeah, but if you're married, that may not apply. If you're self-employed, that may not apply. There are caveats to this. In general, you won't pay more taxes. Yeah, inflation will eat away your savings as well, but, direct taxes, it's a different thing. Now they're saying that people making under $400K a year, which 99% of those watching, and certainly myself, are part of that. I don't make $400K a year. Be nice if I did, but I don't. I got to work harder, I suppose, write some more books. We're not going to pay any more taxes in the United States. Well, nobody believes that. And then the other part is we won't be audited. But that's horseshit. The people making under $400K, how many people in the country even make that much money? That's a fairly significant income. This is 1%er territory. There aren't enough people to occupy that many IRS agents anyway. Of course, other people are going to be made to get audited. Of course they will. Most of them will be middle and upper middle class. They'll be making between, what is it now, 45 or something thousand a year, like the margin of the middle class, or something, 40K, 50K, somewhere between that and a couple 100,000 a year. So people that are doing more or less well, but they're all broadly middle classers. They're doing well enough so that they're not one missed paycheck away from homelessness, but not so well that they're part of the investing and donor class, basically. They're going to be probably 90% of the new audits. We know that this isn't true. And now White House economic advisor Jared Bernstein appeared on CNBC's Squawk Box Monday and was interviewed by host Brian Sullivan, who questioned him about the impact of the Inflation Reduction Act will have on taxpayers. Of course, the Inflation Production and IRS Expansion Act, as it is properly called. If passed by the House of Representatives and signed into law by Joe Biden, the legislation would add 87,000 IRS agents. Again, semi-misleading because some of those positions are like janitors and lawyers and shit like that. So I don't know. We'll round 50,000 actual IRS agents. We'll put it that way, somewhere around the middle ground. Additionally, it would raise taxes on most Americans, despite promises not to increase taxes on those making less than 400K. Of course it would. You're raising my taxes by several thousand a year just by getting rid of the self-employment write-off that Trump passed. Thanks, Joe. Really cool. I want to be clear, is the president guaranteeing nobody making under 400K will be audited by the new agents? Asked Sullivan. No, that's not what I said. Nobody making under 400K will pay higher taxes under the act, Bernstein said. Well, there you have it. You're going to get audited. It's going to be politically motivated. I will almost certainly get audited. I'm not even going to bother taking any fucking write-offs. I'll just pay more money. Fuck it. You can use it. Biden can use it to bomb more third world children. I know he's very fond of that. Hunter Biden's crack pipe. What do you think is going to happen about the Project Veritas Alaska election situation? You'll have to DM me. I don't know if I've heard about that. Gerald Armstrong. Whataboutism goes out the window in the face of hypocrisy. Graf von Tyrol. The Republicans better be serious about replacing such a corrupt dinosaur as McConnell as Senate party leader. Yes, McConnell needs to go. Put Rand in there. If Rand doesn't want to be VP and he doesn't want to run, get Rand to lead this fucking Senate majority. Dane Bramage, CPI 8.5. Yahoo Finance spinning it as a huge win already. Okay, inflation has fallen to 8.5 supposedly, which is unfortunately utterly meaningless. We've had this happen literally twice before, but we'll see what happens in the next month. The Grizzly. I'm sorry, but Mothman is clearly the best cryptid. He can rip off the arms of Bigfoot and trounces the Jersey Devil. His only match is the Loup-Garou. Only if armed with silver. War Expert 213. Hey, Styx, do you have a book on Enki? I'd like to know more about Capricornus in a modern perspective. Your perspective. Fellow Capricorn here. I'm not a Capricorn. I'm an Aquarius. But no, I don't have any book on Enki, actually. There aren't a huge amount of older books that actually deal with Sumerian mythology. A lot of their ruins and shit weren't even discovered, actually, 100 years ago. Swillmeister thought former presidents were allowed, quite famously in the case of Bush Sr., to have classified daily briefings indefinitely post-presidency. Now, Trump's not supposed to have access to secrets. Why? Well, paperwork and briefings are a little bit different, to be honest. But, I mean, he can just claim, hey, I declassified it. So when I dumped it in the toilet, as MSNBC says, it was perfectly fine. I didn't improperly store or destroy this document. I declassified it. It's not classified. I can roll it and smoke it with Snoop Dogg if I want to. This is going to be the problem. He can just claim that anytime that he wants. So yeah, the White House will not say whether the IRS is going to audit people that are actually, not in the 1%, which means that they will, just to be clear. Now we've got Britain braces for winter blackouts in January. Government's doomsday planning warns UK could face days of planned power cuts with railway stations and libraries shut down. Cornwall Insight said bills will increase to around £3,582 in October from 1,971 today before rising yet again. That sounds pretty draconian. Ofgem set to put price cap at $42.66 for average households in the 3 months from the beginning of January. Energy bills and the cost of living is a key issue in the Tory leadership race between Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss. There are reports that a perfect storm of gas shortages from Europe could lead to planned blackouts in winter. Here you've got one of the most wealthy nations in the world, formerly the literal world power, expanding the lingua franca, running, literally 20-25% of the world's surface area or something like that. And you can't even supply enough natural gas or other fuel so that people can keep the power on during winter. Yeah. I would say that the British have become slaves. Only you weren't enslaved by some foreign leader, something like that, like your national anthem worries about. You were enslaved by your own government. You better wake the fuck up, dude. And people think that the United States is fucked. Holy shit. We're golden compared to what the UK is going through at the moment. Jesus. Battle Elf, how much more proof do you need before you recognize it's all rigged? You sound like you're black pilling, but I appreciate the money anyway. I'll donate that money to Donald Trump's re-election fund, maybe. That would be funny. Chaos X, I'm drinking gold right now. It helps with headaches for sure. It has health properties. Look it up. I do not believe that gold actually can cure headaches. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's... no, I don't want to drink colloidal gold or whatever you're drinking. Probably gunk me up and kill me. Scarfy the Strange, people during COVID. Hey, we're out of toilet paper. Trump, check the safe. Yes, it would be funny if there was something meme-worthy in the safe. Like he hears from some lower-level agent that's like MAGA-friendly. Hey, look, you're going to get raided tomorrow. They're going to crack your safe. I know there's nothing in it, but you put something funny in there. So, because I'll be there with the safe cracker and I want to crack up. And then there's like a Fauci bobblehead or something, and this has become a meme. Cordial Snail. Speaking of lake monsters, check out YouTuber Petley Chase. He posts on X and is actively sending a drone into Lake Tahoe. Cool stuff. I want to get into drone usage. That'd be fun. Get some good forest footage. Raul sent 19 Mexican dollars. Thank you very much, but no comment. There's nothing to read out. Yeah, so there's actually the news for the day. We actually got through it in not too much more than an hour. I'll be looking up, I'll just look it up now. U.S. inflation numbers. Yeah, expected to have eased is still all I'm seeing. Yeah, let's see. Just a second. Wait, which month is it? This is from August 10th. Yeah, this is today. Yeah, the price index has decreased. Core CPI, which strips out volatile food and energy components, rose 0.3 from June and 5.9 from a year ago. So, yeah, that's it's better than expected. It's not exactly our doom yet. Yay! Praise Joe Biden. Yeah, prices are only almost 9% higher than they were literally 1 year ago. Clearly, Bidenomics is working this time. You see, the problem is that the Fed's meanderings into interest rates right now that are probably driving part of that, at least I would expect, and partially lower demand for goods. That's not necessarily the greatest thing either, because you can accidentally collapse the fucking economy. Then you get stagflation. You still end up with above 5-6% inflation, but then you also get less jobs and less productivity. We've already seen that. We're in a recession right now. I'm sure that they will definitely be parroting about that, though. But Joe Biden will be tweeting any minute now. And keep in mind, of course, the real inflation numbers, if you were using the older methodology of calculation, is, quite a bit higher, well into the double-digit range. Andrus Burzins on Rumble. There is no use for cucumbers except for wealthy ladies' eyes. Pickle other things. Cucumbers are good. When I was younger, I used to hate the smell of cucumbers for some reason, but actually I've gotten into the habit of putting it like Greek pasta and certain other things. It can be refreshing. Haverkamp Truth. What's your opinion of my YouTube? It's fine. I'll be reviewing some more material soon. Again, though, when you have a child, you have to give me time. Oh, Jesus. Bill G. Asmongold really cleaned himself up and fixed his teeth. I wish my teeth had been fixed properly by the orthodontist when I was younger. I'm actually minus one tooth as of earlier this year because I had a baby tooth that, like, the adult tooth never came through, so it was old as fuck. And, of course, baby teeth don't have as much, enamel and shit. And, it was there. It was fine. But I was eating olives, and they were supposedly pitless. So there's not supposed to be anything hard, and so you can chew them. And I bit into one and bit in right there on my baby, literal baby tooth. And it basically destroyed, I guess, the root structure of the tooth. I could feel the crack and the tooth give way. And it was very, very painful for several days until finally it got so loose I just fucking ripped it out of my head. Barely bled, by the way. Tooth was in all right shape for being, literally almost 35 fucking years old. So yes, I am minus a tooth on my right side. Little known truth. My adult lower first molars never came in. I still have one baby tooth in my head. It has no problems. Seems to be in perfect working order. I'm trying to get to 40 before it inevitably has problems. Eventually, the enamel will wear out. It will begin to get like cavities and shit. It's inevitable, no matter how much I clean it. So, Night 36. Hi, Sticks. Any chance you and Razor could get together for a debate or hang out? I am attempting to get him aboard for the live stream I'll do during the midterms with Sleazy P. Martini as co-host. Sticks' lost tooth. I'm what Sticks gets for abandoning his toolbox. Yeah, I was like, hey, if I put this under my pillow, can I get like a couple bucks like I used to as a kid? That'd be cool. And get another energy drink. The Resistance 2020 on Rumble. Sticks, I hope these Republicans don't get distracted with these oversight and investigations. Hit the road running and start reversing these policies. They will have the power to not fund the IRS. Yeah, they could. Not only the FBI should be abolished, get rid of the IRS. Just don't fund it. The House controls the purse strings. Parse out the funding for agencies that have been going rogue. Simply starve them of revenue. Let the people quit their jobs because there's no way for them to get a paycheck. Rip the agencies apart by withholding all of their money. Great idea. Dabowski, I prefer to eat a cucumber straight out of the vag. Interesting. Anyway, I'm going to go off now. We've gone more than an hour and 10. I think, God, at peak, again, close to 7,000 people watching. It's way more than it used to be. Oh, we have one more on Rumble. Andrus Berzins, Tony G38 wants to know how the dental system works in the Netherlands. Well, my dental system worked by me ripping it out of my head manually in front of the mirror. Now, of course, as a guest in the Netherlands and no fan of socialized medicine unless there is a significant problem, I'm not going to the doctor. Nor would I in the US because fuck that shit. I don't want to go to the doctor or to a dentist. You have to sit in the waiting room for 5 hours to do anything. I hate waiting rooms. It makes me feel like shit. I'd feel better if I just had a tooth throbbing for a couple of days. Let's punch it out of my head. I'll take a rock, I'll put it on the side of the tooth, and then I'll literally punch my own face and knock the fucking tooth out. That's my idea of dentistry. People used to, there was one hunter, I can't remember the name. There was one frontiersman back in the 1800s, back in the frontier days. I think had a broken leg or something or some infection, and he literally just drank himself half blind and then sawed his own fucking leg off. Probably had to take a big rock and crack his own bone first, break his friggin' bone, and then took a hacksaw and literally sawed off his own leg and managed to survive and went on to live a fairly long and healthy life. I think if you can do that back then when everything was smallpox and typhoid, I think I can do it now. Greentop LLC, if you want a drone, the FAA is planning to force licensing and registration on them in September. Yeah, well, it'll be grandfathered, so it wouldn't matter if I get it now or later anyway. By the way, the FAA can fuck itself. I'm in the Netherlands. Their law is probably different. Stix's henchman sent AED 36.99. I have absolutely no clue where that money is from. Anyway, I'm going to go off now. I can also, I think, hear the baby slightly in the background, so it's probably milk time. And I've got to make meatloaf later. That's what I'm talking about. That's about all.